Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another webinar Wednesday here at Oasis Solutions. Today, we're really pleased to have our friends and partners at AvidXchange take us through today's webinar, 5 ways AP automation can help your company grow. So very briefly, I'm going to introduce myself and Oasis Solutions. I'm Aaron Rosenberg, partner and senior vice president of business development here at Oasis. Most of you probably know us, but for those of you that don't, we've been in business since 1991, so 28 plus years, helping customers around the general greater Ohio Valley area and around the country focus first on the people and processes behind their businesses and helping them implement the right software to help automate those processes and get the most out of the people that work at their organizations. We're really proud to be a Fast 50 growth company here in our community. We actually just celebrated our second year in a row at as a Fast 50 company yesterday, and I know we have some other organizations that have registered for the webinar that have been on that distinction list as well. We're also really proud to be a best place to work in the community, which is a great notch in our belt because that's all employee driven, and we really emphasize having happy employees because we know that makes for happy customers, as well as being one of the top 100 value-added resellers on Bob Scott's list, which is an industry list. So we have some really great distinctions. It's been a great year for us, and part of that growth has been because of our partnership with AvidXchange and helping our clients take control of this AP automation space, which is really booming. As I mentioned, we support clients around the greater Ohio Valley area, but we do support clients all across the U.S. in multiple sizes and industries. Again, really believing that who you buy from in the marketplace today is as important or even more important than what you buy. So we have choice just like you, and when we choose to partner with softwares like AvidXchange, we take great care to vet out the right products for our customers that we know they're going to be able to stand by, that will give them the right support, and that will help them successfully implement those processes within those applications. We do that with our qualified team. My team is made up of a lot of smart people. We have CPAs on staff to help really with the accounting best practices. We have MBAs, former CFOs, controllers who have worked in your desk before and have helped their businesses use these tools like Avid to help automate efficiencies within their organization. And so they understand that you've got busy lives and very busy jobs, and they want to make sure that these projects go well and that they don't end up as an all-consuming project for you, that you can really get through the brunt of the project as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And we've got well over 350 years of combined experience on staff helping our customers do just that. So just a couple housekeeping items. You may have noticed that you are in listen-only mode. However, we do want your questions. We encourage your questions, and we'd love to hear from you. So there's a little question bar within the GoToWebinar function there on your screen. So please enter your questions for us, and we'll take those at the end of the webinar. So as they come to you, just please enter your questions there. We will also launch a poll at the end of the webinar in order to capture the best way to follow up with you, and if you want more information, etc. And then we always like to send a follow-up email with the presentation deck and a recording of the webinar. So if you have to jump off early, we totally understand. If you have someone else in your organization, maybe your boss or a colleague that you want to send a recording of the webinar to, it'd be really easy to do that from the email that we'll follow up with. So now on to the star of the show. I'm happy to provide an introduction to Rhonda Green, who's a Principal AP Solutions Consultant at AvidXchange. And Rhonda, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role there at Avid, and then take us through the agenda today.
Sure. Thank you, Aaron. I have been at Avid now going on 8 years, and I've had several different roles, including Vice President of our Payment Services Department, which I actually built from scratch, from the ground up, beginning in 2012. So that is the team that actually facilitates payments through our Avid Pay offering and follows up on those payments. But prior to joining Avid, I actually spent many years managing large AP departments for a couple different companies. So AP is always something that has been near and dear to my heart. And I love sharing best practices and talking about automation and all the efficiencies that a company can gain from automating. So today we're going to talk about common pains associated with a manual AP process, 5 ways automation can help you grow. We'll also talk about AP automation with Avid Exchange, and like Erin mentioned, we'll have a Q&A at the end. All right, so those common pains associated with the manual AP process. This is something I know about all too well. According to market research firm IDC, companies lose 20 to 30% in revenue every year due to inefficiencies. Costs can add up quickly when a company processes invoices slowly and in a manual way. Process inefficiencies across accounts payable may include complicated routing workflows, slow invoice coding, delayed verification, backlogged invoice closeouts, postings, and fillings. But overall, the slow invoice processing time can lead to many issues, including late payments. And if we're talking about late payments on utility bills, those could even lead to large deposits that have to be made. Manual processes can be mundane and exhausting, eventually causing employee burnout. If your organization is growing rapidly, your AP department may find it difficult to handle key priorities such as vendor risk management, fraud prevention, proactive monitoring, spend management, sourcing initiative support. So the limited resources can really add to, again, late payments, not making deadlines in terms of month end. So making sure that is eliminated through automation is a big part of what we do here at Avid Exchange. More than 45% of controllers say lack of visibility into invoices and payables information is their top payables challenge, and that's according to the IOFM. So lack of visibility obviously can hinder the status of the payables. You can't get your invoices approved in time if they're not getting to you. Lack of visibility also increases late payments, as we've previously discussed, can also obstruct cash flow. So you really don't know what you need to pay in a given time. And also increase the risk for fraud. I'm sure you're all aware in this day and age, check fraud is definitely on the rise and something that can happen, especially in a manual process. So let's talk about the ways that automation can help your company grow. Not all solutions are created equal. Finding an ERP-integrated solution is key to improving productivity. Seamlessly passing invoice data from the AP automation software back to your ERP solution is critical. Facilitating more complex AP process. So maybe you've got a multi-step workflow that you need your invoices to go through, and maybe you need certain approvals on invoices that are over a certain dollar amount. We can absolutely handle any kind of complex workflow that you may have. And also, you will gain improved transaction capabilities and streamlined procurement operations. So remember, having a seamless integration is extremely important. And at Avid, we actually integrate with over 140 accounting systems. 2 out of 3 surveyed companies reported wasting an average of 8 hours per week handling invoice management problems in the AP department. And I would actually dare say that could be a higher number. Automation will allow your organization to reduce processing time while minimizing costs. So just think about with invoice capture, which we'll talk a little bit about through the Avid invoice process in a little while, but through us capturing those invoices, getting them into an automated workflow, you've got almost instant visibility to your invoices so that you can get them coded and approved and back over to your ERP in fast turnaround time so that you can get your invoices processed. And just think about what you can do with more free time. You can have your team focus on managing supplier relationships, securing discounts, and ensuring purchasing processes are optimized. You can also project your anticipated cash flow and be redirected to other needed tasks. So you can take those AP specialists and have them working on things like account reconciliation or other important tasks. The role of AP in most business is clear: to tightly manage day-to-day processes while providing value to the organization via insights and intelligence. You can automate repetitive tasks like coding a repeat invoice the same way each month, sending it to the same approver every time, or mailing out checks. You'll also gain control over numbers with real-time data for crucial financial reporting. So much more simplified processes. Keep clear control of the approval cycle. This is so critical in making sure that your invoices are processed in a timely manner. You can improve accountability by knowing where your invoices are sitting in the approval process and for how long. So no more wondering if an invoice is sitting on John's desk. You know exactly where that invoice is in the workflow. Also, visibility into invoice approval process from start to finish so that you can eliminate any unnecessary steps. And also, you can uncover any gaps that could lead to fraud or compliance issues if not checked by the right approver. You always want to make sure you're audit compliant. Also, a statistic that's frightening: 75% of companies hit by payment fraud fell victim to check fraud, and that is up from 71% in 2015. That is a significant number. So what does that tell us? It tells us that checks are not the optimal way to go in terms of security. But with the automated payment solution, you can increase your fraud protection on up to 100% of payments with included positive pay files for all check payments. That's right. For all the checks that are cut through the AvidPay network, we have positive pay on every one, and it's at no additional charge. It's included in the price per transaction. Very, very powerful fraud prevention tool. Also, we can control the rules for approval thresholds and signatures for payment. So today, if you have checks that you're manually signing, we can take that manual process and mirror it in an automated fashion. But you won't lose any of the control that you have today. Let's say you require a second signature for any checks over $10,000. You'll absolutely be able to have that same level of control, but you won't be tied to your desk. You can approve these payments from anywhere that you have internet access. Now, let's talk about AP automation with AvidXchange. Just to give you a few fast facts on AvidXchange, this slide says that we've actually been around 18 years, and that's actually 19 years now. We were actually founded in 2000, but we've spent all of that time building a proprietary network of customers and suppliers. we have 95% retention across over 6,000 plus enterprise customers. We have large market opportunity for continued growth. There are currently well over 1,200 plus AvidXchange team members. And today we have over 180,000 enrolled suppliers in the AvidPay network. So what we want to talk about now is kind of life of a typical AP department before automation and after automation. So all of the bubbles here are representing kind of a manual process from receiving your invoices, opening that mail, coding, routing it for approval, entering it into your accounting system, all the way through payment. But everywhere that you see the X's, just know that those are either services or processes that our software or our service teams will be taking on your behalf. So the only things that you will be left with are the most important things, and that's assigning the GL code, even though we do have tools that can help you with that and make it much easier. But also, of course, approving your invoices. You're still in complete control over that. And then ultimately, once those invoices are fully coded and fully approved, they are then sent back over to your accounting system for you to post to the general ledger. So how do we get your invoices into the system? They actually can be received by us in 3 different ways. So paper mail is the first one. So if today you're receiving your invoices via the USPS, we'll actually set up a PO box in your name, and it's a PO box that we'll manage. So the invoices will be routed to this PO box. Our team will get the mail, open the mail, and get them scanned into your workflow system. For those invoices that you're currently receiving today via email, we'll actually also create an email box in your name so that those invoices can also be captured and scanned and getting them into the system, as well as should you receive any invoices still in your office. Maybe you have a local contractor that comes in and just leaves their invoice at the front desk. That's perfectly fine as well. You can actually scan that in to your inbox yourself. So we've got multiple ways to receive those invoices. And then once we do that, we actually are capturing that header detail. So between our software and our service teams, we're capturing all of that pertinent header detail. Things like invoice name, invoice number, date, amount, vendor name, all of that is being captured so that you don't have to manually enter that anymore. And then once that is captured, it then is submitted through for approval. It goes into the automated workflows that you have worked with our team to create, and it's there for your approvers to approve. So what we're looking at now is actually the Avid invoice approval queue. And as you can see, this particular approver has multiple invoices in their queue to approve. And what happens is that approver will receive an automated email from AvidXchange letting them know that they have invoices to approve. They'll log into the Avid Invoice software, and keep in mind that we do not charge per user license, so you can have as many users as you need, and all of your users will be role-based. So you'll actually control what your users can see and what they can do. But this particular approver, again, can actually, from a high level, just look at the supplier information, look at the dollar amount, invoice number, et cetera. And if they wanted to, they could approve all of these kind of en masse, all at one time, by clicking the box at the top beside the invoice number. But if they choose, they can actually go into each invoice and open them up and look at all of the details. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So as you can see, you have complete access to your invoice image. Doesn't matter if it's 1 page or 100 pages, you'll be able to see every page of your invoice. On the left-hand side here is the header information. So this is that information that we're capturing for you. What will actually happen is we will upload your master vendor file. So all of your vendors that you have set up in your accounting system, that you've done your due diligence and your research on, all of those will be loaded in for our team to choose from. Any new vendors that you may add or any changes to existing vendors will still be done in your accounting system, and a nightly sync will actually update the AvidXchange platform so that you'll always have the most up-to-date information. Now, down at the bottom, you'll see several tabs, the first one being distribution. And this is actually where the coding happens. Just like with your master vendor file, we're going to upload your chart of accounts. So it's going to remain exactly the way it is today, and you'll still have the same GL account, same GL string, everything to choose from to make your coding decisions. That being said, like I mentioned earlier, if you have recurring invoices that you pay month over month and they're always coded to the same GL account, you can actually turn on what we call smart coding, and it will remember how that particular vendor's invoice and that particular account number, extremely beneficial for, utility type invoices. It will remember how it was coded last month and apply that same coding this month. So all you'll have to do is review the coding to make sure that you're in agreement, and then you can at this point attach things or look at the workflow, which we'll look at here in just a second. So let's go to the next tab. The comments tab is such a cool feature. This will allow you to communicate. Oh, if you'll go back one more, please. The comment section will allow you to communicate to other approvers in that workflow. So say you've got 3 different folks that need to approve that invoice based on the way it's coded or based on the dollar amount. And the first person that is looking at it maybe needs to communicate something to the other approvers. All they'll need to do is log a comment in that comment box. And as you can see, that is captured on the right-hand side. And everything in AvidXchange products are date and time stamped, so extremely audit-friendly. But your other approvers and anyone else that will look this invoice up in the future will be able to see any kind of comment that you've made. So the next tab is the workflow tab. And this is just a sample workflow where this particular invoice is going to start with the role of a manager. So someone that they've decided that they need to review, code, and approve. So once they do their step, then it will go to the next person, which in this case would be the director, Jerry Rodriguez. And Jerry needs to review and approve. And because this particular invoice is of a certain dollar amount, it will actually even need to go to a VP. But as you can see on the right-hand side where it says status, you'll always know who has your invoice. You'll always know where it is in the process. So if you need to get that pushed through, you'll know that this particular one is still with Ann. And then you can just give Ann a shout and just say, hey, can you please approve that so that it can go to the next person in the workflow. And as you can see, the last step of the workflow in this particular example, it comes back to AP. And then at that time, AP can do like a final review of all of the invoices that were coded and approved that day, and then they're ready to export and import back over to your accounting system. Now, the history tab is really cool. And again, a lot of times our clients will give their auditors read-only access. And so for all of the invoice selections that they will make, they can actually do themselves. So no more having to go to the file cabinet and pull a bunch of selections for them. They can be given read-only access, pull up this invoice information, and as you can see, the history tab actually will illuminate every single thing that's happened to that invoice from the time it was captured, all the way through. So again, you always know who is doing what, and because again it's role-based, you're controlling who has visibility. So of course, after the invoices are fully coded and approved, they're sent back over to your accounting system where, the next logical step would be to pay them. So once they become due for payment, you're going to create your check run just like you do today in your accounting system. And by doing so, if you're using the Avid Pay module, you will actually create a payment file. So instead of pushing checks to a check printer and printing them out, stuffing the envelope and doing all of those fun tasks, you'll send that payment file to us that will contain all of the information that we need from your accounting system. So once that happens, those invoices can be routed for approval through the Avid Exchange platform. So you'll go in and approve those payments. And once that happens, we will initiate individual ACH debits to your bank account or bank accounts. So it doesn't matter if you pay from one bank account or 100. We will initiate those individual ACH debits, which makes the bank reconciliation process super simple. And then those payments are then facilitated to your suppliers. They're sent out via the supplier's preferred payment method. And the Avid Pay product and network actually has 3 different payment methods that your vendors can choose from. The first one is a virtual card, which if you're not familiar with virtual cards, they work very much like a standard credit card, except they're not a tangible card. It's just a 16-digit MasterCard number. So they're created specifically for a vendor and for that particular dollar amount. So once the vendor processes the card through their merchant account, then that card number is no longer valid. So if you send us a payment to that vendor next week, we'll create a new card number. Extremely secure and very fast way for your vendors to receive payment. We also have what's called APD, which is Avid Pay Direct, which is an enhanced form of ACH payment where we will send your vendors directly an email that contains rich remittance detail. And then the last option is the paper check. So if your vendor has to have a paper check, we'll cut the check, we'll stuff the envelope, we'll apply the postage, and we'll mail it out. So we're taking that manual process of cutting the checks yourself off of your plate. So we're offering these 3 different payment methods, which your vendors are in control over deciding which one. That payment information in terms of your bank statement, once we initiate those ACH debits, that check number from your accounting system and your vendor's name will be referenced on your bank statement. So it becomes a much easier process for you. You're no longer having to do the standard bank rec of, ticking and tying. Did this check clear? Did this check clear? Because everything will show as cleared, and I'm using kind of air quotes here, because we're pulling those funds from your account when you send us the payment file. So for you, it just becomes a review process. You can monitor and track all of your payments. You'll have complete visibility into them, and you'll know when they're clearing. You'll have access to all of your check copies, your proof of payment. Everything will all be inside the Avid Pay portal.
Thank you so much, Rhonda, for taking us through that information today. And as promised, we are going to launch a poll here, and then we will get to the questions. We have a couple questions that have come in. Okay, just give everybody another 30 seconds or so to answer that poll question.
And thank you, Aaron. I love talking about AP AP best practices, helping out my fellow AP professionals. Around the company, I'm known as the AP nerd, and I love it.
Yeah, I can tell you have a real passion for the topic there. We appreciate you leading the presentation today as well. So a couple of questions. One is from a customer here. Can I still print my checks?
Absolutely. You will never lose the ability to cut checks in-house. So you're in control over deciding which payments come to the AvidPay network and which payments that you're going to keep in-house.
Another one here is, can I set up personalized workflows for my organization? I think you touched on that. You know, people that we come in contact with almost always have a desire to put some if-then scenarios on their approval processes, either at the amount level or at the approver level.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Absolutely. The workflows will be created, by you. We actually take a train the trainer approach. So we will show you how to do that, but you can create the workflows, to mirror your existing format or whatever format you need.
And I'd say that's also something that we work with customers with a lot within the NetSuite application too, on multiple different processes, on AP, on their purchase order approval processes, et cetera. And we've got a lot of experience. Yeah, we've got a lot of experience working with the Avid team. And one of the things that we love about working with Avid is once a customer determines that this is the right solution for them, we have had great success and extraordinary customer feedback on how easy it is to work with the team, how easy it is to implement. And if there are instances where we need to get involved, it's usually minimal, and we're just helping to kind of ride herd over the project, make sure that everyone's on time and in alignment on what the expectation is, including helping with anything that needs to be configured or set up in NetSuite. One of the last questions here, and then we'll wrap up, is will my invoice approval process need to change?
No, not at all. Again, what your current process is, we can absolutely mirror that. Again, it can go from just having one person in a workflow to if you need 20 people in a workflow. So again, it's driven by your business processes, and between the Avid team and the Oasis team, we will help you along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely have helped hundreds of customers on best practices around those processes, putting in the controls, but not making it too cumbersome. I think are things that we keep in mind when we're going through and talking with customers about this. So that's great. Oh, we got one more that just came in for vendor payments. So the question is, can I send all vendor payments through the Avid Exchange Pay? And this is a good one because we have several customers that use Avid Pay Network and some that don't. And then we've also had a lot of success when Avid has gone through and done a vendor analysis for customers to help them find value on converting those customers over. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before I wrap up here?
Absolutely. That is a great point. So we are able to do a vendor match. So you can send us a listing of all of your vendors that you have in your database today, and we'll be able to tell you kind of what your ROI, what you can expect. We can tell you how many vendors are already in our network. And typically right out of the gate, we see about 30% of your vendors are already in the network receiving payments on behalf of other clients. And we can tell you what you can expect in terms of rebates with our qualified e-payments. So absolutely. So B2B payments is, our sweet spot and where we shine, that we can absolutely help with all your payments.
Great. Thanks again, Rhonda, for giving us your expertise and experience, and the Avid team and the My Team here at Oasis for helping to conduct this webinar today. As I stated early on in the webinar, be on the lookout for a recap email from us along with a recording. We've got a lot of great recorded content on Avid as well. And you can always reach out to me here at Oasis, Aaron at oasisky.com. That's AARON at OASISKY.com for more information. And thanks again for joining us today. And we hope to see you again on another webinar soon. Everyone have a great afternoon.
Thank you.